For the past 3 decades, the Jeep Grand Cherokee has been the company's signature midsize SUV that has built a reputation for itself for being capable, durable, and luxurious. Now, of course, over the years, Jeep has made the Grand Cherokee more refined and more tech-heavy. However, last year they introduced an all-new 5th generation that really took things to the next level. Now, this week I'm actually out in Austin, Texas, because I'm testing out a new variant of the Grand Cherokee that finally gives it a plug. This is the 2022 Grand Cherokee 4xe. What that means is it uses the same plug-in hybrid powertrain as the Wrangler 4xe. So under the hood, we have up to 375 horsepower, a 17.3 kilowatt-hour battery pack, and up to 25 miles of all-electric range. So if you guys have had your eye on buying a new Jeep Grand Cherokee, but you wanted something with a little bit better gas mileage at the pump, how does the new Grand Cherokee 4xe stack up? Stay tuned to find out. So last November, Jeep actually invited us out to Moab, Utah to finally drive the all-new 2-row version of the Grand Cherokee. Remember, this is now in its 5th generation. It's the first time that we've seen a 3-row Grand Cherokee L, and this is also the first time we're seeing an electrified version of the Grand Cherokee. So I want to first start with the powertrain of this vehicle. This is the same 2-liter turbocharged direct injection 4-cylinder paired up with a electric motor that delivers up to 375 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque. This powertrain is the exact same unit that we find in the Wrangler 4xe that has honestly been a really great addition to the lineup. The 8-speed automatic transmission in this vehicle is very unique because what Jeep did is they removed the torque converter of that transmission, replaced it with a 134 horsepower motor that also delivers up to 181 pound-feet of torque. The gas engine on its own delivers about 270 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. Now, if you guys are noticing the torque figure, 470 pound-feet is actually the same torque figure as the old 6.4-liter V8 from the previous generation Grand Cherokee SRT. So this is a pretty potent engine. It actually has more power versus the 5.7-liter Hemi V8. Now, I mentioned earlier, it uses an 8-speed automatic transmission. 4-wheel drive is going to be standard. This Summit Reserve that I'm showing you has the Quadra Drive 2 system, so it includes a low-range transfer case. It also includes an E differential, a limited slip differential, and a front sway bar disconnect if you guys go for the Trail Hawk trim, which we will be testing out on an off-road course later on. Now, in terms of the economy, this is where you're going to go with this powertrain. It uses a 17.3 kilowatt-hour battery pack, and Jeep says the engine on its own will get about 23 in the city and 24 on the highway. 56 mpge is the equivalent miles to the gallon when you're using it as a hybrid, which that number doesn't really mean much, but in terms of the gas-only powertrain, it gets about 4 mpg better versus the Pentastar V6, and it's good for about 25 miles of all-electric range, which the range itself is good, about 4 miles per gallon better, or 4 miles better versus the Wrangler 4xe, but it's down compared to the BMW X5 plug-in and the Volvo XC90 T8 Recharge with the extended range battery. But it's still very good numbers. Jeep says this should get to 60 in about 6 seconds. We'll test that out when we get this out on the road. And in terms of towing, this is still a mid-size SUV, so it's able to tow about 6,000 pounds. And as it sits, this vehicle is about 400 pounds heavier than a gas-only version. This one here, being the Summit Reserve, is the heaviest. It weighs in at just over 5,500 pounds. Now let me go ahead and shut the hood and show you guys the styling of this vehicle, because this one here is the fully loaded Summit Reserve in this really attractive shade of white. I can't remember the exact name of the white, but you can see the Summit Reserve is the top of the trim hierarchy. It's the Mac Daddy of all the Grand Cherokees. It has its own unique front fascia with the grille. The grille, you can see, has this kind of satin chrome look to the traditional 7-slotted grille. There is, of course, a camera over here for the front camera system. It also includes a washer because it has that off-road camera. More of that satin chrome with the kind of piano black plastic in the actual grille insert. You have your sensor there for your radar cruise control. I do think that Jeep needs to offer a black package to kind of black this out. I actually think they may offer it from the factory. I'll have to confirm that. But the satin chrome with this white looks good. You can see the full LED headlights are also standard on all Grand Cherokees. These higher trims include an upgraded LED. You can see you have an LED turn signal, LED low and high beams. You also have a unique LED fog light on the Summit models compared to the Trailhawk models. And overall, it has a very traditional Jeep look. It's a little bit on the more conservative side, but you can basically tell instantly this is a Jeep. The other thing you're also going to notice, the Jeep badge here has kind of like a blue outline around the actual Jeep logo. That's again going to remind you that you're driving the 4xe. Some models will also include tow hooks, which are painted in blue. The Summit Reserve for some reason doesn't include the tow hooks, the exposed tow hooks, but I do think that it's a nice addition, especially if you look at the Overland models and you look at the Trailhawk models. Looking around the side profile, you can see this is the 2-row model. It's the only way you can get a 4xe. Jeep does not offer it on the L for now. It's about 193.5 inches long. Its wheelbase is about 117.7 inches long. This is a foot shorter than the L, and it makes it about the same size as a BMW X5 or a Land Rover Range Rover Sport. That's what Jeep primarily compares this car to. It's way above something like a Toyota 4Runner in terms of luxury and in terms of off-road technology. Now I want to talk about the wheels. The Summit Reserve is the one that's not going to really give you the off-road capable wheels. You're going to want to go for the Trailhawk model. These are a 21-inch wheel wrapped in fat 275/45 series tires. You can see the wheels themselves kind of have like a two-tone machine with a black inner painted pocket design. I believe Jeep offers a black wheel if you guys go for like a black appearance package. I do think these wheels make the car look like a luxury vehicle, and when you combine it with the air suspension, this is with the suspension in its off-road 1 setting right now. Jeep says you can choose between 5 different levels of air suspension. The base ground clearance is going to be about 8.4 inches. On its highest mode, it has around 10.9 inches of ground clearance. So that's actually about 0.5 inches lower versus the gas-only version. The battery pack lives underneath the second row seat, so that does lower the ground clearance just slightly, so it's going to reduce your off-road capability a little bit. On the Summit Reserve, you can see there's a black painted mirror over here. The roof is also a two-tone look. This is only on the Summit Reserve model. You also get a panoramic sunroof that's standard on this trim. I do love the way this vehicle looks. It has kind of like a boxy look with the two-tone, with the white and the black. It's very trendy, and I think it works with the lines, the body lines of this vehicle. Now coming on the rear, you can see there isn't really any other indication that it's the plug-in hybrid, aside from the fact that you have a 4xe badge over here, and then you have the traditional taillights here with a kind of skinny, thin design, similar to the way the headlights are. You can see it's an LED turn signal as well. You do have LED reverse lights. You have dual integrated exhaust tips into the rear bumper, along with nicely finished integrated parking sensors. The Summit Reserve badge over here actually has a blue tint as well, along with the Jeep badge here. So again, that's going to give you a little bit more of a clue that this is the plug-in hybrid model. Now I'm going to show you guys the cargo area of this vehicle. Because the cargo area thankfully has not changed, because the battery pack lives underneath the second row. You get just around 38 cubic feet of space with the seats up. Remember, there's no third row on the 2-row model. And then if you fold down the second row seats, it expands it to just under 71 cubic feet of space, which is pretty good. I believe it's a little bit less versus something like the Toyota 4Runner, but this is going to be plenty of space, plenty of practicality. Underneath here, you can see there is looks like a full-size spare, although it's not quite as large as the actual, it's a 245. But this is better than what you're going to find on some competing vehicles. And you can see the mobile charger is going to live underneath the floor over here. So when it comes time to charge your Grand Cherokee 4xe, Jeep is going to make it pretty simple. Now, first of all, this amazing Trailhead Charger that's solar powered, they're going to be installing this at all the major trails across the US. When you pull up to one of these or use the one at your home, this vehicle has the ability to level 1 charge or level 2 charge. It's equipped with a 7.2 kilowatt hour onboard charger, so that's relatively average for the segment. Remember, this is just a plug-in hybrid, so it's not going to have DC fast charging capability. Basically, come over here, open up this charge port door. You can see it uses the J17772 plug. And then when you come over here, plug this vehicle in, you can see there's going to be a light that comes on in the dashboard to let you know how charged this vehicle is. Now, Jeep says with the 17.3 kilowatt hour battery pack on a level 2 charger, this will take roughly just under 3.5 hours to fully charge the battery, which is, again, pretty average. But I think for those of you who plan to use this vehicle at home, you're probably going to just level 1 charge it. If you do it that way, if you don't have a level 2, it'll take about 12 hours or overnight to give you a full charge, which honestly isn't bad. But for those of you who want to be able to have a quicker charge, I recommend having a level 2 installed. So the exterior of the Grand Cherokee 4xe certainly gives you the luxury car vibes. However, it's the inside where this Jeep will seriously impress a lot of you, especially if you're coming from the previous generation or cross-shopping it with a BMW or a Land Rover. This interior of this particular one in this Tupelo Honey Palermo leather in the Summit Reserve really makes it feel like another class above any of the mainstream offerings. Now, getting inside, I have the air suspension up a little bit high, but you can lower it to kind of help you get in, but it gives you that nice higher seating position that you kind of demand. As I get in and shut the door, The door has a nice solid sounding thunk. What it is missing is a soft closed door. You can't get this on this vehicle, but I believe Jeep offers it on the bigger Grand Wagoneer. Now, looking at the key fob, you can see this is the current Jeep key fob. It's a really nice looking key, actually, a little bit different from all the other Stellantis products. You can see it has remote start on the fob. You can open up the liftgate. You can unlock and lock it. You can also access the car via the Jeep app, the Connected Services app, where you can remote start it. You can ping the vehicle. And on this model in particular, you can also check the charge level, because that's something you're going to want to do if you own this vehicle. Now, getting inside, the button to fire up the engine is right here. It is slightly blocked by the steering wheel, but you can see once you turn the vehicle on, it has that typical Jeep starter sound, and you're greeted with basically 5 screens here in the front of this vehicle. There are actually a total of up to 7 if you guys go for the rear seat entertainment package that my tester has. You can basically see there are 10-inch displays all across the dash. There's one in the heads-up display, there's a 10.25-inch screen here, a 10.1-inch screen here, and then my tester also has the 10.2 or 10.2-inch display on the passenger side, which the passenger screen, you have to turn it on by pushing on this button. I can't see it from the driver's side, but this is about $1,000 extra on the lower trim, standard on the Summit Reserve. It really gives this car an impressive interior, especially with this kind of two-tone look that you're getting with this Tupelo Honey. Now, let's talk a little bit about the interior materials, because this is an expensive SUV and it certainly has the materials to kind of back that up. The door panel has this wonderful soft touch material where it's actually leather padded. This wood is genuine walnut with a matte finish. It looks good with the two-tone look. You have more of the Palermo with the diamond stitching on the door panel. The window controls are even unique. They're the newer design. They feel really high quality. It's one touch up and down for all 4 windows. You have new controls for the door lock switch and the mirror controls. It all looks and feels nice. The seats, you can see this model has 16-way power adjustable seats for both front seats. They're heated, cooled, and they also offer a massage feature, and you have 2-person memory on both sides. These seats themselves, you can see beautiful diamond quilted look with the stitching, the contrasting piping, and the fact that the seats, like I said, are massaging. The leather itself, I think, could be a little bit softer. I think that I've definitely sat in seats that have a more plush feel, but this is still very, very nice, and the ventilation works well. The massage offers like 5 different levels. If you push the button here, you can see there's like 5 different levels here with 3 different intensities. It all works well, although I do think it turns off after about 5 minutes, which I think is a little bit too soon. The steering wheel, you can see, is a large steering wheel, and it's a power tilt and telescoping wheel. You have a heated steering wheel, a lot of buttons, of course, to use the adaptive cruise control, the level 2 driver autonomy. You can adjust the screen over here, which this, you can kind of customize it to your liking. You have paddles on the wheel as well. The horn is pretty typical to the sound or to the size of this vehicle. I think it's a good sounding horn. And then you can see here with this instrument panel, you can kind of adjust what the screen looks like from like an off-road pages. It'll show you your other off-road displays over there for the air suspension. You can adjust it to audio. You can put messages there, settings, a main menu there, vehicle info, your hybrid information, fuel economy information, and then you can also put the GPS over here as well, which the graphics of this screen, I have to say, don't look as good as what I've seen in some of the luxury brands, but it's nice that Jeep is giving us a full display here. But I do think that it doesn't look quite as upscale as some competitors. The 10.2 or 10.1-inch display here, this is Uconnect 5. You can see it has wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. So the graphics look good. It connects pretty well to my phone, and it's also relatively snappy. Although at 10.1 inches, it's a good size, but again, I see 12-inch plus displays on a lot of the luxury brands. So this is nice, and it also includes the wireless CarPlay, which is also a great feature. You also have embedded GPS into this vehicle, which works well. You can also go to vehicle here, adjust all your usual settings, and you can also go into like an off-road pages here, which is unique, of course, to the Grand Cherokee. There's also an electric vehicle pages here, where it shows you your power flow, it shows you your driving history. You can also schedule it to charge based on the time of the day and what day it is. There's also an e-save function, which we'll talk about later in the driving scene, but basically there's 3 drive modes on the left side here. There's hybrid, electric, and e-save. When you have it in e-save, this is where the system tries to turn on the gas engine. It saves the battery for later. Hybrid mode is basically what it defaults to, where it's going to constantly switch back and forth. And then there's also an electric mode, which tries to favor electric only usage. Remember, you have 25 miles of full electric range. which is fine, a little bit less from what you're going to get from the BMW and the Volvo. Now, putting the vehicle into reverse, you can see there's your full top-down 360 camera. You can see it has trajectory, excellent graphics and resolution. You also have like a little trail cam where you can see in front of the vehicle, and you can also push this button here, and that will clean the camera. It was that washer that I showed you during the walk-around. So this is all fancy stuff, and it really makes you surprised if you haven't seen a lot of modern Jeep products. The rear view mirror you can see here is digital. This is actually part of an option package that my tester has for $2,000. You can also adjust the intensity of this, how bright it is, and also move it up and down. So this is great, especially if you have stuff in the back where it might be blocking your view. Up here, you can see there's a few other buttons. This right here is for the Regen Braking. That's right, this is a plug-in hybrid vehicle that has relatively strong Regen Braking, which allows you to do almost one pedal driving. It doesn't bring you down to a complete stop, but it is great that Jeep offers that feature that allows you to get some charge back into the battery pack. You have your lane departure alert over here where you can turn it on and off, stability control. You have your automatic parallel parking feature where this vehicle will basically search for a perpendicular or a parallel parking spot. It'll park itself for you. So again, all this tech that you expect from a modern luxury vehicle. Over here, there's some piano black plastic trim, which I don't love. I would have preferred something that shows less fingerprints. Open this up, you can see there's a wireless phone charging pad there. You have 4 USB ports, an HDMI port for the passenger screen where you could technically plug in like a video game console. You could play video games, you could watch movies over there if you're the passenger side. Which is pretty cool. Over here you can see there's the rotary shifter. This is made of metal, which really again gives you a high quality feel when you are changing the gears in this vehicle or selecting a gear. You can also see there's the drive mode selector over here where you have different modes. You have a rock, you have a sand, mud, snow, automatic, and a sport. I'll try those different drive modes out later on. You can see this is where you can adjust the air suspension of this vehicle. You can raise and lower it. There are 5 different levels of air suspension. There's also a 4-wheel drive low range if you guys go for the Summit or the Trailhawk model. Over here you can see there's pretty good sized cup holders. There's another lid over here that'll help to kind of clean up the entire look over here, which is nice. This is a nice padded area here where there's 2 levels of storage. You can see a little bit of storage over here. And then if you open this up, there's even deeper storage down here. And there's a little bit of lighting inside the center console. It's lined with felt. In terms of the interior, there's also interchangeable ambient lighting where Jeep offers up to 5 different color schemes for the ambient lighting, which is pretty nice. Although I will say I've seen it at night in another Grand Cherokee. It doesn't look quite as good as something like the BMW X5 or Mercedes GLE. Over here on the glove box, you can see it's a bin style. It's damped and it's lined with felt. It offers a good amount of storage in this vehicle, which is nice. Above me, you can see the Summit Reserve includes the Alcantara and the actual roof panel, and on the A pillars and B pillars, which is definitely a nice upgrade. You have LED map lighting in here, big panoramic sunroof where again you have this power retractable shade, lets in a lot of light, and you can also open up the panel here over the front seats. The one over the rear is fixed, but overall this vehicle is packed full of technology, full of luxury, high quality materials. The 19-speaker Macintosh audio system in this vehicle, you can see the speaker grill over there is lit up with the Macintosh logo. Is very bass heavy for me, but it sounds incredible. It's included with the $5,000 Summit Reserve package. So really, if you're going to compare this with a BMW, a Land Rover, or a Mercedes, the interior certainly has the tech and the luxury that goes head to head with it, and it also has the space, the practicality, and the visibility that you expect from a vehicle in this price category. Now, in terms of the second row of this vehicle, this is the 2-row model, but you do expect it to still give you plenty of space. Now, first of all, getting back here, the seats are covered in the same gorgeous Palermo leather in this Tupelo honey color. It looks fantastic with the two-tone, kind of the black and this kind of caramel color leather. The seats themselves also offer a recline, so you can kind of recline it. You can see a pretty good amount. This is not slide forward and back, but the fact that it does offer the recline here is a really nice touch if you want to get comfortable. Now, getting back here, you can see in terms of the legroom, Jeep says there's about 38.7 inches of legroom back here, so just under 39 inches. At 5'7", you can see there's plenty of foot space here. I can kind of stretch out and get very comfortable. There's a pretty decent amount of headroom. Now, I will say that for somebody that's my height, this is good, but if you're over 6 feet, this sunroof may take up a little bit of space. The floor down here, you can see, is not completely flat. There's going to be room for a drive shaft, but you can sit 3 people across because this is wide enough. Over here you can see there's 4-zone climate control, and you have heated and ventilated seats in the back here. This is part of the reserve package for an extra $4,500. This is all really nice, although I will say the graphics here don't really match the nice graphics that you find in the front. You do have, again, a traditional 3-prong power outlet over here, and you have 4 or more USB charging ports. I like how Jeep gives you a choice between the USB-A and the USB-C. That's a nice touch. Over here you can see for an extra $235, my tester includes like an extra package that gives you the manual rear sunshades. It should just be standard at this price point. It also includes a wireless phone charger at the front. This is definitely nice. You have the same beautiful leather material here on the door with this beautiful wood. More of the metal speaker covers here. It's even lit up here for the Macintosh audio system back here, which is nice. Fold this down, you can see there's an armrest that folds down, gives you 2 cup holders. So overall, this is definitely comfortable. It feels a little bit more spacious versus the last BMW X5 I was in. But for those of you who need to carry 4 people in comfort and luxury, the Grand Cherokee, especially in Summit Reserve, will really deliver on that. So at the end of last year, Rob and I got a chance to drive the all-new Grand Cherokee. However, they only had the V6 and the V8 available for us to drive. I found the V6 to be a little underpowered and too light on torque. The V8 was good, but it's thirsty. It gets like 14 mpg. In a world full of $5, $6 a gallon gas, you don't want to have to pay for that. So now we're in the 4xe, the plug-in hybrid model, and this is the most powerful and quickest accelerating version of the Grand Cherokee. Jeep says it'll get to 60 in about 6 seconds, which is almost a second faster versus the V8. So let's go ahead and test it out. I've got the battery at about 83% charge. I have it in sport mode right now, and let's put it in hybrid mode. And let's see what we can do here. Yeah, I brake torqued it a little bit. 5.8 seconds. That's actually pretty impressive. That's on pretty much almost a flat surface. It's like a 0.4% slope, but that's really not bad at all. So technically on a level ground, this could be a little bit quicker than that, maybe 5.7. So it's quicker than Jeep's claim, and I'm impressed by that number. Now that number is definitely about a second faster than the V8. I think the V6 takes like 8.5 seconds. So the V6, you have to rev the crap out of the engine. It definitely doesn't feel befitting of a vehicle that's supposed to be more of a luxury brand. But the V8 was better, but too much gas. This is a very, very nice, good mix of power. And I also like how it's really smooth. That's the thing, is Jeep has smoothed out the transition between the electric and the gas powertrain. I think that they've done a good job giving it the refinement that this engine needs. Especially if you're going to put it into a Grand Cherokee. That's definitely was an improvement. Now, compared to the competition, I would compare this car directly with the BMW X5 xDrive 45e, and maybe even the new Volvo XC90 T8 Recharge, which was just refreshed. I just got a chance to drive that. And this is slower by about a second to 60 than its competitors, and the range is not as good as the BMW or the Volvo. So that's going to be chalked down to aerodynamics, because they have pretty similar sized battery packs. Remember, the electric motor on its own makes like 134 horsepower and 181 pound-feet of torque. So that's not a lot. Now, I've been driving the car in hybrid mode primarily. There's also an e-save mode that will save the battery pack for later. If you plan to take this thing to the trail, you want to drive it in electric only on the trail. And then there's also a full electric mode where this vehicle will theoretically drive on electric power alone, which I'll test out in just a moment. But I do want to test out the 0 to 60 one more time, since we found a nice flat level road here. It's still in hybrid mode. I still have it in sport for the transmission. Remember, this uses a traditional stepped 8-speed auto. We'll continue to brake torque it and see what we can get this time. The engine just doesn't sound like much. It's a 4-cylinder. All right, 5.87 seconds, so very consistent numbers, and it has really good feel. So I think people are going to be really impressed with the performance of the plug-in hybrid model. It's just the sound of the engine isn't the most pleasant sound, and that's kind of something that you have to remember. It's a 4-cylinder. Even the V6 Pentastar makes, I think, a better sound because it's a 6-cylinder, and then the V8 has obviously the best sound. Now, I'm going to switch the drive mode over here to electric, which I do think that Jeep needs to consider making this a little bit more visible. It's a little hard to see. Like, I have to actually look over to the side. I would prefer just some kind of control here on the steering wheel or over here on the dash. We'll kind of go back to automatic here for the transmission drive mode, and we'll just drive around this vehicle in electric only. It has about an 80% charge right now, about 19 miles of range. So I do just want to see what we can do. Let's just go ahead and test out the 0 to 60 in electric only mode, because this car theoretically will get you up to highway speeds in electric only mode. So
22 seconds.
22 seconds. Yes, you're off things. Okay, let's see what we can get. Oh my. Oh my goodness. My foot is to the floor. It's to the floor. You can actually feel the transmission shifting. It's really odd how it's shifting because it's a, oh, there's the engine turning on. So sadly, that was at 14.5 seconds, and then the engine had to kick on. I didn't actually move my foot. My foot was constantly at full throttle, but I guess the computer decided, no, he wants more power, so we're gonna give him more power. So sadly, this is actually pretty similar to the X5 when I tried the same test. The X5 plug-in hybrid was around 15 seconds as well. So that's a compromise because remember, this is still a 5,500-pound vehicle, and with only 134 horsepower, the electric-only mode is gonna be a dog. Now, because it's electric torque, put my foot down here, it's not really that fast feeling. It's because of that 8-speed auto that it's connected to the transmission, or technically the torque converter has been removed and they put an electric motor there. So you actually do feel it shift, but then if you put your foot down too much, there's the gas engine coming on. So it's not quite as good as something like the Lexus NX plug-in hybrid, or even Volvo's new T8 Recharge plug-in hybrid. I found that to give you even more electric-only torque, which I really appreciated. But if you're going to drive it around in hybrid mode primarily, I think that Jeep has done a good job at blending the two powertrains together, making it work seamlessly with the 8-speed auto. And the car offers plenty of punch, so I'm really looking forward to driving, an SRT version of this car whenever Jeep decides to have it come out. But this plug-in hybrid should be the perfect compromise between the V6 and the V8. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is just the overall drive. Before we get this vehicle out off-road, of course, on the road, the Grand Cherokee is supposed to be a luxury SUV. They've always built a reputation for this being more of a luxury-oriented vehicle, competing with cars like a Range Rover Sport or a BMW X5. Now, our Summit Reserve model on these massive 21-inch wheels with the standard air suspension actually gives you a pretty good ride quality. For a big 45 series tire, it soaks up the bumps nicely. It's also pretty quiet in here, especially if you're cruising along on the highway. We're down here in Texas, where the speed limits are 70 miles an hour, and it really does a good job at being at high speeds, although I did notice the hood started fluttering above 80 miles an hour, which most of you aren't going to drive that fast anyways, but I would probably say that a BMW wouldn't do that because it's more designed for the Autobahn, and it's going to be a little bit more stable at high speeds. In terms of the visibility, Jeep actually made the visibility better this year. They said they improved outward visibility by about 9% this year by making the pillars thinner, and it's a pretty good view. I do think this A-pillar is kind of chunky. Down here you can kind of lose a car, but the view out of the side is good. The view out of the back with this optional digital rear view camera mirror is fantastic. But if you don't want to have that on, the view itself is fine because of the boxy shape. It's a nice overall feel. And the seats for this vehicle, I'm sitting here getting a massage. Same with Rob. You've got a 12-way power adjustable seats with a massage function, heated and cooled. The leather itself, this is the upgraded Palermo leather. It's included with the Summit Reserve. I do think the leather could be a little bit softer. It doesn't feel quite as plush as the top-end seats that I've tested in some of the luxury brands. But there's no denying this car feels like a luxury car. It's got the tech of a luxury car, it's got the refinement of a luxury car, and it's way more refined versus the Wrangler 4xe, obviously. But I do think this car is very pricey. We'll get to the pricing at the end of this video. But does it feel like it could compete with the luxury brands? I think yes. It has the technology, it has the acceleration. In terms of the range, when we started out this video, it had a full charge and it showed about 23 miles on a full charge, which is just shy of the EPA's target of 25. Now, I do think this car could do better than that. I'll have to do a range test when I get one for a week to test back home. Jeep says you can go a total of 470 miles on a full charge and a full tank when you combine the two together, so that's really, really excellent range. It's got about a 19-gallon gas tank, so the gas tank is a little bit smaller for the 4xe by about 5 gallons versus the standard gas-only version. But this is pretty much what I expected. I expected this car to be really well-rounded. I expected it to handle very well, to ride very well, because remember, this is still a car-based platform with a 4-wheel independent suspension. And that's the beauty about the Grand Cherokees. You can drive it on-road in luxury and technology and comfort, but then when the pavement ends, you can take it off-road and you can take it to places probably where a Wrangler could go. And that's kind of the beauty about spending this much money for this type of vehicle, is you have kind of the best of both worlds. So it wouldn't be a Jeep program without showing you guys the off-road capability of the Grand Cherokee 4xe. And to do that, I've switched over to this 4xe Trailhawk model, which means we have the 18-inch wheels, the all-terrain tires, the standard air suspension, or at least all the other trims have it except for the base limited. And Jeep has set up a pretty interesting course out here. This is actually the same course we were in the Wrangler 4xe, and it's certainly not an easy course. We're going to be able to test out quite a few things: the water fording, the wheel articulation, the skid plates. This vehicle has 3.5mm thick steel skid plates over the battery and over everything underneath the vehicle. So we're going to see what this car is like out here. So this used to be a river, but it's been kind of dry here in Texas, so now it's just thick, deep sand with a little bit of mud thrown in. So I have it in 4 low. The sway bar is disconnected right now. We have it jacked up in the highest setting. And as you can see, this car just made it really easy. And keep in mind, I'm also doing this electrically.
It smells terrible.
There is no gas engine on right now. And wow, this is pretty deep as we go through this. Okay. Wow, with the electric motor torque, I barely have to touch the throttle and it just goes. And I'm also in 4-wheel drive low. So again, this is kind of like the Wrangler 4xe. I am driving at an off-road course in 4-wheel drive low, purely electric. And it's really weird because it's quiet out here. Actually, it's kind of perfect because now you can just enjoy nature instead of hearing an engine groaning and making noise. And with almost 11 inches of ground clearance, this thing just has a ton. It really makes it so you don't have to worry too much about scraping. And feel that low end torque is awesome. It just really lets you power out of anything. So we're about to climb this pretty gnarly hill. The off-road course is pretty similar to the Wrangler 4xe, although Jeep did take out the really, really tough stuff because this is not quite as capable as a Wrangler, but it is basically almost as capable. So we're gonna go ahead and try this course out and see how well the wheels articulate. We're probably gonna end up using the skid plates. And I have to say, Jeep, they always do really, really aggressive and challenging off-road tests. Ooh. Okay, slipping and sliding. There's that torque.
Okay, we're gonna do the same thing he did. Just
God.
nice and slow and easy, all right?
So I have to go this way. Okay. I have to go this way. Okay.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
A little bit for me. Good. Keep coming. You're okay. Keep coming now, all the way, all right? All the way around.
Oh God. Okay.
You're looking great. Keep it just like you are with that wheel, all right? We're gonna slip right in.
Oh.
Perfect. Keep on coming. Good.
Oh my God. Okay.
A little bit faster for me. Good, just like you are.
Whew.
How'd that feel? Pretty good?
Wow. It's like a roller coaster ride.
Nice job. Keep going.
And this is definitely something that I wouldn't try in a BMW X5. Okay. Whoa, there are those skid plates working. Whew, this is pretty steep. Okay.
I'm gonna hold you up right there.
Ooh,
Perfect.
okay.
You can get a good side of what you're about to do next.
Wow, okay.
Yes, are you my lift?
Yes, get in.
I'd like to go to the middle of nowhere, please. Efficiently.
It's very odd because you could feel the wheels still slipping even though my foot's on the brake. Like I'm not giving it throttle.
Jesus, this is, yeah. I should put my seatbelt on.
Yes, put your seatbelt on. Okay.
Thanks, man.
All right, so now we're about to go down this pretty steep drop. Oof, that way. I have it in rock mode right now, so it has some form of hill descent control. Wow, this is very steep. Try this in a Volvo or a BMW. Ooh.
That did not feel good.
Wow, those skid plates better be working hard now. Okay.
Sweet Jesus.
This is like a roller coaster ride. Ooh, oh God. Good thing your seatbelt's on, Rob.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Safety first.
Woo! Wow.
Very good, very good.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Yep.
Well now, and that is exactly why you're gonna pay a super high premium for this car, because try that in a BMW or a Volvo, or I'm skeptical that even a Range Rover Sport could do that. I mean, I think it could, but oh my gosh, this vehicle has quite an impressive array of off-road capability, and the cool thing is I can do it electrically. So last year when Jeep introduced the all-new 5th generation Grand Cherokee, it was from the ground up a complete redesign. They started, of course, with a new platform, the Alfa Romeo Giorgio platform, and the company really took it to the next level because they started to expand the Grand Cherokee family, first starting out with the Grand Cherokee L on my left. This is the first ever 3-row version of the Grand Cherokee, giving Jeep the 7-passenger capacity that they really needed to go head-to-head with all the new competition. They followed it up later on with the 2-row Grand Cherokee, which we had a chance to drive in Moab, Utah. The 2-row Grand Cherokee was the one that a lot of enthusiasts were waiting for because it was about a foot shorter in overall length, and it offered the choice of a V6 V8 engine. It gives you the off-road capability that you need. And I also thought that the 2-row was probably the better looking one. The L at times looks a little bit frumpy because of that extra foot in the overall length. Now, of course, we're here out in Texas to drive the 4xe version, the electrified version. This is the first ever version, our Grand Cherokee with a plug. And after spending the day driving this Grand Cherokee 4xe, I am very impressed because I actually already liked this model and the 2-row version with the V6 or the V8. The V6 I found to be a tad underpowered, the V8 to be a little too thirsty. This powertrain effectively blends the two powertrains together. You get way better efficiency, you get up to 25 miles of electric only range, 0 to 60 in just under 6 seconds. And for those of you who have a commute that's less than 10 miles one way, you could theoretically drive this car on all electric power and not have to even use the gas engine. But when you need to go on those longer trips, it gives you about 470 miles of cruising range. And of course, this car isn't exactly perfect. The interior, I think it has plenty of tech features, but it can be a little overwhelming at times in terms of the screens. For those of you who are trying to find a competitor for it, this is where the Grand Cherokee 4xe really is in a class of its own. You can't compare it to mainstream offerings like the Toyota 4Runner, which has always been the main rival to the Grand Cherokee. This is going to compete head-on with luxury players like the BMW X5 plug-in and the Volvo XC90 plug-in, which neither one of those vehicles offers the off-road capability of this car, and you're essentially going to be paying a premium for that along with the technology and the luxury, because if you're trying to get your hands on one of these, they're heading to dealerships in May of this year, so just about a month or two away from actually showing up in dealer showrooms. And the 4xe model is going to start at around $59,500 for the base 4xe, which is built off of a limited trim. Jeep is not going to be offering the lower end trim levels like the Laredo on the 4xe. That makes the car very much expensive over the regular gas-powered versions, about $10,000 to $12,000 premium versus the gas-powered V6, about a $7,000 premium versus the V8 engine. And now, of course, it depends on which trim level you want to go for. If you guys want to go for the off-road oriented Trailhawk, that's going to cost around $63,000. It rolls in the all-terrain tires and the air suspension. This Summit Reserve that I'm showing you right here, this is at the top of the trim hierarchy. The Summit's around $69,000. The Reserve package adds another $5,000 on top of that. With the options, the small options like the tech package and the rear manual sunshades, the wireless phone charging, this car here is around $78,000. $78,000 is very, very expensive. That actually makes the car about the same price as a BMW X5 plug-in hybrid, and I'm not entirely sure I personally would pay that. I mean, if you really value the off-road capability and you love Jeep as a brand, certainly it's worth the money, but just keep in mind, a lot of people who are gonna be spending $80,000 are gonna want something with a luxury badge, which technically Jeep isn't quite there, even though, again, like I said, they offer all the luxury, the technology, the comfort, and the refinement that you expect from a luxury brand. Now, I also wanna remind you guys that price is before the $7,500 federal tax credit, so that will help lessen the sting of this car. In fact, Jeep says that if you're comparing this car to a gas version, the lease payment actually may be less versus the gas equivalent because of that $7,500 federal tax credit. So my recommendation, go to your local Jeep dealership, see what the numbers are, and see if the 4xe is right for you, because I do think this will become the best-selling powertrain in the Grand Cherokee family, and it makes the family complete, save for, of course, the SRT model, which we should hopefully be seeing in the next year or so. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2022 Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.